Joining us now for 2 nights of Close-Up is Kevin O'Leary, chairman of O'Leary Ventures and a key figure behind the new film Money Supreme. Kevin, great to have you with us tonight. We'll get to the movie shortly, but first the economy, because for most Americans, that's what matters most right now. There's growing frustration across the country. Politicians from both parties often say the economy is stronger than people feel in their daily lives. We heard similar claims during the Biden years when inflation was described as temporary. Now the numbers appear to be improving, but families are still under pressure. So what's the truth? Are things really getting better? And do you believe 2026 will be the breakout year the administration is promising? Kevin O'Leary. There's a famous line in politics. It's the economy, stupid. And it always comes back to that. What complicated things recently was nearly 43 days of disrupted government activity, which made economic data uneven and difficult to interpret. GDP is one of the most important indicators we have. It tells us how productive the economy is and how fast it's growing. That matters because the United States remains the #1 destination for global investment. Almost half of the world's investment dollars flow here. That only happens when the economy is trusted. So when GDP comes in above 4%, that's a shock in a good way. Especially considering the data gaps caused by the shutdown. Nobody expected a number that strong. From a pure growth perspective, it's an impressive result and gives the administration something real to point to. But, and this is important, numbers don't vote. People do. Anchor. And that's the disconnect we're hearing about. Strong GDP growth, yet many Americans say they're not feeling it. In fact, analysts are pointing out something unusual. GDP is rising, but job growth has stayed relatively flat. How do you explain growth without job creation? Kevin O'Leary. This is where technology, especially AI, comes into the conversation. We're at the early stages of a massive transformation. Right now, maybe 40 to 50,000 jobs are being debated as potentially replaced by AI. That sounds scary, but history tells us this isn't new. People once feared television would kill radio. They feared computers would kill office jobs. Instead, what happened was a shift. AI is a productivity accelerator. It helps companies produce more with fewer resources, and that shows up in GDP. Jobs aren't disappearing, they're evolving. Lower skill, repetitive tasks will be automated, but higher value jobs will emerge. If AI helps a worker earn 2 or 3 times more by increasing efficiency, that's a net positive. The American economy has always thrived on innovation. That's why productivity stays high. A meaningful portion of today's GDP growth, possibly 20% or more, is already tied to AI-driven efficiency. Anchor. Still, affordability remains the #1 issue for voters. Prices are high, groceries cost more. Rent is up, and families say wages haven't fully caught up after years of inflation. What should the administration, specifically President Trump, do next year to actually bring prices down, not just slow inflation? Kevin O'Leary. The fastest and most effective move is tariff reform. We currently impose tariffs on many goods we don't even produce in America. That includes food items, raw materials, and industrial inputs. If you eliminate tariffs on products we don't make, things like certain fruits, proteins, or raw materials, you lower input costs immediately. Within 60 to 90 days, consumers feel relief at the grocery store. This isn't ideology, it's math. Lower costs move quickly through the supply chain. And politically, timing matters. The midterm elections are approaching, and voters judge the economy based on daily expenses, not quarterly reports. Anchor. So you're saying GDP strength alone won't be enough heading into the midterms? Kevin O'Leary. Exactly. GDP is important for investors in global markets, but voters care about affordability, healthcare, housing, and wages. Inflation may be lower than its peak, but it's still too high. Tariffs need to be fine-tuned. Regulations need to be streamlined. And investment, especially in technology, needs to stay strong. If productivity keeps rising, wages will follow. That's how you rebuild purchasing power. Anchor. Before we let you go, one final question. Looking ahead to the next 2 years, what's the biggest economic risk the U.S. faces? Kevin O'Leary. Global competition, especially from China. AI, energy, and manufacturing dominance will define the next decade. If America stays ahead in innovation, we'll continue to lead. If we fall behind, growth slows. Right now, the outlook is cautiously optimistic. Strong GDP, rising productivity, and technological leadership are positives. But affordability must improve, or public confidence will fade at anchor. Closing. Kevin O'Leary, chairman of O'Leary Ventures, joining us tonight with a deep dive into GDP growth, inflation, AI, and the road ahead for the U.S. economy. Kevin, thank you for your time as the midterm elections draw closer. The economy remains the defining issue for voters nationwide. Strong numbers may impress Wall Street, but for Main Street, relief at the checkout counter will be the true measure of success. We'll be right back after the break.